Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And as you can see, we have our special guest tonight, Brother Sekou, who is the proprietor of Frontline Bookstore. And Sekou, I want to thank you for taking our time to be on the podcast tonight. We Absolutely. And we invited you because so many people have been asking about Frontline. Frontline has been an institution in our community, and we want people to know that Frontline is still functioning. Frontline is still around. Frontline is still important, and that's going to be the gist of our conversation tonight. But as you know, we started as an organization to find a way to support our businesses in our community because we feel that our businesses have the opportunity to circulate dollars. Frontline Bookstore has been a staple in our community, has been a business in our community that has actually helped to do that very thing, and that is to circulate dollars in the community uh, by doing business with other Black people, by providing work opportunities for other Black people, by providing opportunities for other entrepreneurs to put their products in his stores, um, and serving as a mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs and for young people, and being concerned and participating in terms of various causes in the community. And that's why businesses are so important. That's because they do have the ability to circulate dollars in the community. And so that's why we started this organization. And our bookstores are one of our greatest proponents because that's where our knowledge and our information is. We have Frontline, we have the Underground Bookstore, we have Afriware, we have the Book Joint, Semicolon, Soulful Chicago Book Fair. If you go to our website at rrgbc.org, we have all of the bookstores, whether they're brick and mortar or online, that are located here in the Chicago area on our website. And we ask that you support our bookstores. That's where our knowledge is. We think so much of this that we instituted a book giveaway, and we select a bookstore of the month, and we give a book away every month. And the bookstore for the month of May has been Afriware Books. And Afriware Books is located at 170 First Avenue in Maywood, Illinois. And their website is afriwarebooks.com. Sister Nzinga has been around in the community, and she is very instrumental in providing a lot of good information. And she chose the book Feeding the Soul Because It's My Business by Tabitha Brown, who is known for all of her sharing all of her many vegan recipes. She is known as being an aspiring actress, and she developed an undiagnosed autoimmune pain, and it was through her spiritual journey and her journey around listening to her health, listening to her body, listening to her mind, that she has shared much information in this book of how she has overcome her illness. And so that is has been our book of the month, and our winner is Charlotte Monan. So Charlotte, if you're listening, we will be giving you a call and you will receive a free copy of this book at our expense here at Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And so thank you, Charlotte, for subscribing. If you want to become a subscriber, um, if you want to become a subscriber and have an opportunity to win this book, one of our books of the month for our book giveaway, go to rrgbc.org and provide your information. Become a subscriber. That's how you can become eligible to win our book of the month. We also are asking you to go to Save Black Bookstores in Chicago at change.org and sign the petition. We want our local libraries and our local schools to give contracts to our Black bookstores here in Chicago. So we're asking you to go there and sign the petition. Save Black bookstores in Chicago at change.org. And finally, we always support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union. They're a financial banking institution, and they have been servicing the community for a number of years, nearing 20 years, giving loans and financial literacy information to individuals. And the way they can stay afloat is that we set up accounts, we create accounts. That's how banks are able to stay afloat. And so we're asking you to support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union. They're located at 55th and Wentworth. So now we're going to have our conversation with Brother Sekou. And Sekou, I want you to, first of all, let people know how they can contact you, support you, and continue to benefit from the books that Frontline has to offer.
Well, I want to say a pleasant evening to all. I want to give thanks to Denise for inviting us to this platform again, where we can have fertile conversation, where we could have conversation that could inspire our young people and all other peoples, especially people, African people, Black people, young press people. So we are glad to be here, and we are here to inspire. If in any way we could help to inspire, and that is what bookstores and book publishing is all about. How we can inspire people to read and therefore get more knowledge. Therefore, the idea of having knowledge is one thing, but a matter of implementing it is another thing. And that's where we think the importance of the bookstore. But the bookstore by itself is one thing, the books being on the shelf. People need to read the books and implement the concepts and ideas that are in the books. Example of a book like Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey talk about, different ways that the black man, black woman, black child could develop themselves independently through organization and through businesses, etc. Similarly, the lessons for African people. The last course of philosophy that Garvey taught in 1937, Garvey expounded in that book for all the best of his cadres. While in Canada, he talked about it, how the cadres, the black cadres who he sent off to lead and to inspire and to train people across the communities from Gary to the south side of Chicago, to New Jersey, to Baltimore, and all over Chicago and South and North America, Central America, other parts, Canada. He sent off a whole cadre of people who was trained in the course of African philosophy. And that was a preparation so that he can go out and train people. The importance of a bookstore. A bookstore is like having a Trueberry in your house, or when you go to the Trueberry. And I say Trueberry because we no longer we say there's not any lies about a library. Library, when they're talking about word, song, and power, library would kind of look to see that we're talking about lies. Now, every time they conquer a colony or a country and turn it into a colony, what they do, the first thing they aspire to do, we look at Kemet, we look at Egypt, which is Kemet, we look at Rome. One of the things that they do, we go to Ethiopia, they read the libraries and take the manuscripts, and that is a common thing because they want to make sure that they now rewrite their their selves into your history and or remove your history altogether. So I thought your history is no longer pertinent in relation to the scheme of things, and now their history would be the one where we call his story or her story. And an example of this is this: is like African people. If you was to hear the lion tell the story, and they hear the hunter tell the same story, the hunter view would be a different view from the lion view. The lion would say, I was in the forest and in my habitat, enjoying the greenery and Mother Nature. And then all of a sudden, someone came with something looking like a weapon and fired it off to kill me and my family. And therefore, we escaped and we killed that person or that thing or that being. And that is how the lion would look at it. So he said, you were invading his privacy in his place, in his habitat. The hunter would say he saw a wild, ferocious beast, and he had to attack in order to save his life. But he didn't say it, he was in the alliance habitat. This his space. And you had no right being there. So you killing the lion for what the lion has. To get the lion's mane, to get all the things that with the lion. So the story, who tells the story is always a pertinent thing in this as related to the narrative of African people, as related to the story of books. Frontline Books is not just a bookstore. It consists of a publishing arm. It consists of a distribution arm. In fact, the publishing arm is the strongest part of Frontline because even when the physical retail stores, the brick and mortar may stop, the publishing continues, and we now look for new avenues by looking at the way the world is going. People are now looking online, and online is where the competition is not only for the buying of books, but for all merchandise now. You go online, and that is where it's competition. 10 people might say the same thing and online, and you have to compete by offering the best price, offering shipping and stuff like that, comparative to what and therefore that is where the struggle is now. That is where the fight is now for the markets online. But Frontline is a very important organization, institution. For the last 35 years, Frontline has been operating from the north side to the south side, different venues, Frontline has been on. So we so Frontline has been on many different venues, and now we looking at the Evanston location where we are broadcasting this from tonight. It's at the Evanston area, but the store is not open fully yet. because we're mainly concentrating right now on the distribution aspect, mainly the online aspect of it. So this is where we are, and we continue to put our books. Some of the books we have, we go on Frontline, the website. You'll see Frontline, www.frontlinebooks, um, publishing.com. And
Okay.
you could go online and you could, you know, go on the website and you could choose some of the books we have. Some of them may be in bundles. We have a bundle with Marcus Garvey, Eternally the African, which was edited by a sister from here, along with a lot of contributors from here. It deals with the whole aspect of the returning to Africa, as that year, which now continues into another couple of years. So there's the Eternal Year, the African was celebrated mainly in Ghana and other parts of Africa for the last 2 or 3 years. So so that book is about that. Then we have the lessons for African people, Garvey last class, and only class that he taught
Mhm.
in Halifax, um, and Nova Scotia. In Nova Scotia, that is a part of Halifax, and he taught that class in 1937. I think it was September of 1937, and the class was attended by cadres from all over um, the Western Hemisphere, and might have come from Africa as well, Liberia, but a lot of them were from North America, South America, Panama, Costa Rica, a lot all over. But you had a lot of most of the cadres were people who were in charge of the UNI units after Garvey. And let's remember, 1937 was 10 years after Garvey was deported for railroading by the United States FBI and the government on mail fraud charges. Though over the years it has become more apparent by researchers that that charge was a chump up charge by J. Edgar Hoover, who led the FBI in that time,
Mhm.
and he was now cutting his teeth as a new recruit in the FBI. It had now been set up, and he used the FBI to come at Garvey. And the FBI, as it's noted in Contel Pro, is noted for one of the things it's going after the Black Messiah. That was one of the things that was even in the movement of the 60s, the Black Power movement, the civil rights movement, um, the FBI attacked
Mhm.
um, people, revolutionaries and black nationalists, and so on, through the Contel Pro, which was organized by the FBI to make sure that no black messiah arise after the death of Malcolm X, um, Martin Luther King, and so that was why we had in the Black Panther Party a lot of people who were infiltrated, and a lot of people died. Stokely Carmichael Kwame Ture had to leave the U.S. and end up taking a presidency in Conakry in Guinea. So so it was this
Mhm.
the when the FBI decide to infiltrate you because they think that what you're doing and saying is important to lifting your people, African people, oppressed people, um, to lift them up to a certain standard of awareness and consciousness about themselves.
Well,
And
Sekou, this is why your bookstore and the books that you provide are so important, um, because each book could actually be a class of
yeah,
study. When we look at the information that our students get in school today, much of this information that you're talking about, it may be discussed, in some segments, but for the most part, uh, the things that you are talking about the historical information, the details and the contents of the details that you're offering. This is information from historians, from philosophers, from many wise people, um, from Egyptian, philosophy, going all the way back to Egypt. Uh, just a lot of historical knowledge and fundamental information that people would need, as you say, to uplift their consciousness. you know and I feel that it's the lack of knowledge that our people have today that that has caused us to be in the or resulted in us being in the situation that we're in. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of disagreement, there's a lot of lack of understanding, and it's almost like we're in a situation where we don't know what to do.
But if we read and apply that reading to our daily life, example that I mentioned before, Marcus Garvey, he have a whole class provided in 1937, the lessons for African people, um, which I edited. You also have now we have as a show. You can see this, Denise.
Yes.
This is more lessons for African people. We might be the only book um, enterprise that in Chicago and Illinois on a whole that has this book. This is volume 2, more lessons for African people. It's actually around $45 because it's very pricey. It's not even done in the US. You have to import it. So these are some of the things that we say is very important for us to read, sit down and study. With Education of the Negro, a very classical book, then for people to know about the history of themselves. And one of the things, look at black history. 1 month is pronounced for Black history, the shortest month in a year. How do we challenge that? Right? We need to challenge things like that. The community need to challenge things like that, right? And this starts off in your community, and then it expels into other communities across, the U.S. and so on, and even probably outside of the U.S. Because black history should not be the shortest month of the year, shortest month in a year, but also Black history should be monthly. It should be a monthly, should be ingrained in what we call the what do you call the curriculum, the history curriculum, because Black history is American history.
That's right.
Right. So African history in America, the history of Africans in America, is the history of America, because the African history in America has gone on from time. It didn't just start in 1498 with the arrival of Columbus in the Americas, because Africans were here long before Columbus came here. There was a voyage led by Abu Bakr, Mansa Musa's brother, and you know who Mansa Musa was supposed to be, still is. They're one of the richest people to live on the continent, to live in the world. Some of these people, they call themselves rich now, couldn't compare with Mansa Musa. Nobody could even today, who say they have money. The queen who stole all that gold, and no King Charles, they stole all that gold and treasures from Africa. Whether it's Elephant Tusk, Pitya's manuscripts, etc., all was stolen from different parts of Africa, from Mali to Benin, right? There were a lot of great pieces in the museum and all over Europe. So these are things that are very, very important, very pertinent, that we seem to negate and forget. We cannot forget our history. Our history is rich. As I said again, the shortest month in the year is our so-called Black history. Black history should be part of the curriculum, and not just history that does not mention you about once or twice, because we have contributed to the history of this country geographically and in every city and every state. we have made history, right? Who, when you look at it, African people in America has contributed to the building of this empire.
How do you think things would be different? Our condition would be different if we really knew our history as a people.
Well, if you know your history, you know who you are. That's the first thing. You gotta know who you are, whether it's man, woman, or child. You gotta know who you are. You gotta know your past. You can only step into the present when you know your past. That means you must be able to research your past, calculate your past, learn lessons from your past, so you can step into the present and move forward into the future. A young man or woman who knows their history as one of progressive history, that we did not start with the Bible, with Adam and Eve's story. Our story goes long eons before that, right? The Bible history of Adam and Eve probably goes around 6,000 years. African history is gone to millions and billions of years. The first woman and the first human um, anthropoid to walk on the planet is a woman found in Ethiopia. A woman called Denkadish, right? The white Europeans call her Lucy, but the Ethiopians call her Denkadish. Her body is over 3.2, 3.3 million years old. So these are important things. So if African people, African young people who are walking on the side of the road with a jail culture of having their pants below the underwear. So the underwear is the overwear, and the pants, the regular pants, is the underwear, right? If they knew who they were, in essence, you wouldn't have to tell them to pull up their pants. They would pull up their pants because they would know they were kings and queens, not of an exploitative nature, but of a nature based on the fact that they were a proud people contributing to the development of the earth. When you look at Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, Boukman, Christophe, these men fought against the Haitian slavery, and they created a revolution in 1807 that was remarkable. That all people, they just not just beat back one nation, they beat back two great nations at a time, the French and the British. And also, yeah. So look at that. The French, the British, and the Spanish all were fighting for a piece of Haiti. You now see how they broke up Haiti. They broke up Haiti into two parts. It was one place at one time. 300, 400 years ago, it was one place. It was called Santo Domingo,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the,
Right,
or the New Spain, Hispaniola,
right.
right? Little Spain. And then they came and they broke it up, and this leadership consisted of different points. Christophe, um, Christophe, Toussaint Louverture, Bookman, who came from Jamaica and came there before the revolution started, and many others unnamed heroes and sheroes that we don't remember. And Haiti set that strong example, and Haiti is still paying today for what it did in 1807 when it declared itself as the first black republic in the Western Hemisphere, right? People, when black sailors left Haiti and landed in New Orleans to collect, to bring cargo from Haiti and to pick up cargo from North America. And at that time, New Orleans was a colony of France. France had owned New Orleans, right? They were scared. People like the president of America at the time was scared. Why were they scared? they were scared that all that whole question of black liberation, black revolution, black struggle, a nation that people that were able to take over their own divine will in Haiti and created this first black republic. And while those so-called mulattoes, what they call mulattoes in those days, which was mixed race people, I know it's not the most appropriate word they say now, but in those days they called them mulattoes, the black and white, mixture of black and white parentage. And now those people now, if you go to Santo Domingo, those are the people who make up of Santo Domingo, right? So our history is a rich one. The people of the government of Haiti supported many black liberation struggles. In fact, they gave money to support and to free the slaves. The first thing they said, when you take over those countries, free the slaves. That's why they supported black liberation struggles and they gave money for revolutionary warfare that was taking place across from Colombia to Venezuela, to Peru, etc. You had this, the government of Haiti basically supported anywhere that they said first and foremost, whenever you liberate a place, first you must first free the slaves. That was part of what they gave with any aid to any country in those days who wanted to liberate themselves. Bolivia, all of those countries across North and South, North and South America, Central America. I mean, South and Central America. Very, 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 very pertinent.
Yeah.
So they didn't keep the idea of being liberated to themselves. They wanted other people, other slaves, and that's one reason why they banned the government of the United States of America. They banned the ships coming in from Haiti and bringing cargo here because they didn't want the influence of the Haitian Revolution to impact those of the inhabitants and the slaves who were here to see free men coming from Haiti, free African men, free black men coming from Haiti, trading as independent. And then, so they banned, and that later on, the French sold New Orleans to the United States of America. It was like a giveaway, basically, because Toussaint Louverture was annoyed that he felt that we should have gotten more support from the government, the standing government of the United States at that time. So, so when we look at Black history, we need to look at all these aspects of it. Why Haiti is suffering today still, right? Why we have the whole question of Haiti going through the changes that they're going through. Just not too long ago during COVID, they went into Haiti and killed the standing president and impose their own person there. And today Haiti is in turmoil still with the masses of people taken to the street. You have all different kind of discourse going on around that.
Mhm.
So we look at African people all over the world, and we see where they are heading. Africa is becoming more and more self-sufficient. We have a ways to go, but we black people there are getting more self-sufficient. African people in America, more and more people are now looking into traveling to Africa, investing in Africa, living in Africa, and stuff like that. And I think that is a very good thing. But we who live here have to continue to struggle to make sure that Black history is taught in the schools on a day-to-day basis, not only when it's Black History Month, because Black History Month should entail Black history throughout the year. Because I will continue to say that African people in America, if it wasn't for African people in America, whether it was the Africans who were here when long before Columbus ever made the journey here, you know, say Mansa Musa and brother Abu Bakr II, Musa, and you had Ramses III, who also was a pharaoh who left Kemet and came here with an expedition over 3,000 years ago using papyrus ships leaving from Kemet. And you had so many right? When even Columbus' son in his diary said when he reached Cuba, there were masjids there with men who were wearing long gowns as seen, in robes as seen in Mali, and that you notice even in Haiti, Columbus' son saw um, the goal points of the arrows there, and they asked where they came from. No one, they couldn't say, but they used the same word as they used for gold in Mali at the time, which was Ghana. And Ghana was supposed to be the Gold Coast. So,
Hmm.
so right there and then, some of the native Taínos people um, who were living there in the main in South and Central America and Cuba and Haiti and so on, they had gold points, and these gold they said was brought from by men who came on ships, and more likely would have been Mansa Musa, older brother, who gave up the throne so he could get it, so he could go along on, on expeditions to find new lands across the West. So here it is. So Columbus didn't even discover here. He didn't even reach to North America. Yet he's given all this accolades like if he came to America. The
Hmm.
man who came to America was also an Italian man called Americus Vespucci. He was the one who navigated, and he didn't even, I don't know if he ever arrived, but he reached into, I think, well, one of the South American countries, um, and was able to put up a flag. But he didn't reach to the mainland. Neither did Columbus. Columbus arrived in the Caribbean, El Salvador, Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad, at different points of different voyages, and so on. So this is the reality, and when we look at what's going on in terms of black
Sure.
businesses is going through a whole new paradigm, and it's only
Hmm.
going through this paradigm basically because before we didn't see the importance of going online via internet. Now is important because right after the COVID, you saw how much money Amazon as a multinational corporation was able to raise more money online than ever, and that is where the competition is right now for books. You have one book, the price might be 1995 listed price, but online you can get that same book probably by different people selling online who competing with one another. They know selling who has the lowest price, who has the cheapest shipping and stuff like that. That is the direction that
Yeah. So
retail
you can
is now taking on online.
compete more because you don't have all of that overhead.
You could compete
That-
more because you
that-
don't have large overhead, but remember you still have overhead. You have the overhead because wherever you if you're selling books or whatever else you're selling, you have to have a space that you could store stuff. Unless you using you can work out shipping arrangements whereby somebody else or another organization is shipping the stuff out on your behalf.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, you have definitely, I mean, you have so much knowledge, Sekou, in such a short period of time here. You've been able to state the case for the need for us to be reading and knowing our history and hearing the perspectives of our historians and our wise men. Um, and I mean, there's just no way around this. It's something that we need in order to get out of the situation that we're in and to move forward. Something I did want to do tonight when I went on your website. I noticed that you have book bundles,
yes,
and I remember when we had the event at your bookstore, you
yes,
offered book bundles, and many people purchased those bundles.
yes.
And as I looked at
Many
the
people, many
bundles,
people purchase them, but much more need to purchase more.
right, absolutely. But as I looked at the bundles, I really like the way you put them together, and I would like
Yeah,
to kind of run by each one of them,
yeah,
just to let people know what you have here in these book bundles.
yeah,
The first one is the healing of the nations. We
yeah,
talk about healing of the nations, and you
yes,
have three books here on the holy herb, basic herb, and heal thyself for health and longevity.
yes,
Can you speak to that?
yes, of course. Well, those three books are very pertinent in terms of developing proper health. And one is basically in terms of the importance of herbs and the importance of eating right. We as a people, since coming to the Western Hemisphere, we live for what we call eating to live. But the real reality of living is that we must, when we eat to live, we eating to live based on certain proper things that the body needs. We shouldn't be eating things that is not needed for the body structure, to improve the
Hmm.
body structure, right? So when you start eating things that is not good for the body structure, over time it will attest to what's going on with your body, whether it's in terms of strokes, whether it's in terms of heart attacks, whether it's in terms of all different ailments that may be avoided, probably if we eat things that we as African people need to eat. Like it's that is important for us. And, because one of the things that I should mention also is that when people like um, Abu Bakr the second, Mansa Musa brother, came to the West, North America, they brought a whole lot of foods. So that's why things like cassava, things like mangoes, things like breadfruit came here. They brought them here because African people, wherever they go, they always carry some of the food that they eat.
Hmm. Okay, it seemed like we lost Brother Sekou there in the midst of a very important conversation. See if we can get him back.
We didn't. We didn't?
Okay.
All right.
I can hear
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
Sekou. All right, there you
Yeah.
go. All right.
Yeah. So one of the things that when I this bundle, as I said, when African people travel, they always carry the food that they eat. And
Sure.
one of the things that when the people came here, the early settlers came here, like from Mali and so on, long before there was any kind of thing of any Columbus, long before they are taking Africans as prisoners of war. We came here willingly, long before they had the Jesus as a slave ship. So we came here a long time ago, and very important for us to know. So these books you mentioned here, those
Mm-hmm.
books are based on how we as a people should, um, how we should take care of ourselves in terms of taking care of our body. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea is not living to eat, but eating to live.
Absolutely. And that's very important. I think that's a very fundamental set of books to begin to look at, and a very fundamental topic, because one of the things that we do when we start talking about what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies for food, that's at one level, but it also enhances your ability to have a consciousness about what you're allowing to come into your body, into your mind,
Yes,
just developing a consciousness about, we they say we have five senses, but we have more than that. If
Yes.
depending on how you want to look at it, we have many more than five
Yes.
senses, and
Yes.
so many things are coming at us, and so we need to develop a consciousness about what we exposing ourselves to,
Yes.
physically, mentally, spiritually, you know, um, to a really a great extent.
Yes.
And I think people are very superficial about that. We're
Yeah.
eating, definitely not eating a good diet.
Yeah. Well, once we die, having a diet, we having a problem because a diet is about dying. So what we have to do, is to live. We have to restructure what we eat, and
Hmm.
have something what we call the Rastafari brethren and sisters. They call it a live it. So we want to give our bodies more lively food. So things that your human structure, your body, so when you eat that in your body, it goes through and it also strengthens your mind, and so on, and make you more prepared for the life you need to live.
Okay.
Example, we don't drink enough teas. We don't eat a lot of. Make sure we eat a lot of stuff that is, you know, not all the time cooked, but some of it could be non-cooked. So more salads and stuff like that. Eating more things like ginger, turmeric, in our lives. Having, less. We as African people need to stay away from sugar, as the same way we need to stay away from salt, right? Sugar and salt should be two enemies in our life. Um, because most things coming from the earth already has a natural proponent of salt already coming from under the earth. So for you now to go and put no processed salt into that now, we're looking at problems. And that's why we have all the problems of all the things called diabetes and all these different ailments among our people. And you having young people now in the teenage years and 20s and 30s dying from some of these ailments, right? People having, diabetes. You have people, they can't do without sugar, right? They can't do, so you don't need sugar and stuff like that. And there's some natural sugar that we could use, but really, African people should stay away from sugar. Look what sugar did to us on the plantation. Planting sugar cane in the Caribbean, and so on. And yet we want to have a sugar, a sweet tooth. And that sweet tooth, we lose. Some people lose their fingers, their hands, their, different, parts of their body because of what is this so-called diabetes. Because we had to have what they call this unnatural sugar, which you find in
Okay.
pop and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so these three books very pertinent. And the one on herb, which is cannabis, is like the holy herb that deals with the whole idea of that cannabis is not only for medicinal purposes, it's not only for that you use, just for sitting down and having, with your friends and so on. It's also a spiritual and religious, it has religious, spiritual, and religious uses. And some of the Hindus in India do use it for that purpose, and the Rastafari brethren in Jamaica and other parts of the world also uses the holy herb. So we say that the herb should not only be legalized for medical purposes and for manufacturing purposes of making clothes and garments and other stuff like that, but also
Mhm.
it should also be utilized and legalized based on the properties of it uses it for spiritual purposes. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so the next bundle that I was looking at was the Freedom Bundle
Yes.
of books that you have, from the Maroons to Marcus,
Yes.
the Negro Revolt,
Yes.
and the Groundings with My
Yes.
Brothers.
Well, three Putin books. Um, I'm the author of From the Maroons to Marcus, and it deals with the whole idea of the whole history of the Maroons in Jamaica. Um, in Jamaica, the Maroons came into existence um, after the Spanish was run out by the British, but the Spanish was run out by the British because also the people there, like many of the Maroons, Kojo and Coffee, etc., who were Maroons, known Maroons in different parts of the island, they fought against the Spanish. And at the end, the Spanish freed them up before they ran off and left the island for the British because the British had beaten them back in that war to colonize what we know as Jamaica, which the natives call Akamaka, the Maka,
Mhm.
right? That was the native Taino people. That was the name, which is like land of water. So at the end of the day, that land, when they left, the Maroons, which was African people, who were fighting against slavery, who, as far as they're concerned, they were never slaves. They never see themselves as slaves. They knew they were prisoners of war, and they were there, and they were fighting against the British, the Spanish. So when the British came in, the Spanish left out, and they freed the so-called some of the slaves, run to the mountains, and run to the cockpit country in Jamaica, and they were called Maroons. In the Dutch areas, like in Dutch Guyana, now known as Suriname, you have Maroons there, but the Dutch word for it in those lands were called the Cimarroons, in opposed to the Maroons. And the Maroons were people who were loving people who held on to the fact that they were African people, and they
Mhm.
wanted to fight for the liberation of African people across the globe. The Buffalo Soldier is another Maroon in a different name in living here in North America here. And then you have grounded my brothers, my dear senior brother, um, Walter Rodney. These are talks and discussions that Rodney had, being a senior lecturer at the University of the West Indies at Mona campus in Jamaica. While teaching there in 68, 69, he took time off to go among the down pressed people of the city and other parts of Jamaica, and especially Rastafari brothers and sisters, and teach them about their history. Also, you learned from them the whole aspect of what Rastafari was about in its natural force and natural thing. But the whole idea, growing my brothers, was a discourse that Walter Rodney had with African people, mainly Rastafari brothers and sisters, um, elevating them about the history, African history, what took place in Mali, what took place in Guinea and other parts of Africa. The whole idea of that we were smelting iron long before Europeans were doing that. So Walter Rodney, one of our most astute historians in the world, but more so one of the most astute historians that the Caribbean has produced, coming out of
Mhm.
the South American country called Guyana. Used to be called British Guyana before we became independent. It's now called Guyana, Guyana, and so on. So
Mhm.
the other book, Dread History.
Okay, and the other one was the groundings with
I
my
just spoke about that.
brothers.
I just spoke about that.
We covered that one. Okay, so our next bundle
No,
was
what was
knowledge.
the other three books? What's the other book?
Okay, there was
History of Negro Revolt.
the
Yeah.
Negro
History
Revolt.
of Negro Revolt was a book written by Sierra James around 1938, 39. Sierra James, another Caribbean historian. He's a teacher at Howard University. He was born in Trinidad, and he also wrote another classic book about the Haitian Revolution called um, what do you call Black Jacobins, right? Which is a historical piece around Toussaint Louverture, right? So Black um, History of Negro Revolt talks about all the revolts, mainly in North America here, that took place among African people fighting to resolve their own history and their own dignity by not saying that we came as prisoners of war and we don't want to remain on the plantation. Yes.
And see, that's something you don't hear much about. Uh, they made a couple of films out of a couple of revolts, but that's something that you don't hear much
Yeah.
about. And I think knowing that our people fought,
Yeah.
puts you in a different kind of mindset as far as trying to fight for today,
Yeah.
as far as trying to move forward today. even developing your
Yeah.
communities,
Yeah.
dealing with your family, feeling empowered that you can do something
Yeah.
to change
Yeah.
the situation
Yeah.
as it is today.
And I want to make a point before we go to the next bundle that though you had people like Wilberforce and so on in the British Parliament who was fighting for the abolishment of slavery overall, but here in North America and in parts of the Caribbean and South and Central America, the Africans were always rallying around, trying to come together to 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 to, um, to revolt against slavery, and you had so many different revolts taking place, across, especially across North America. People don't talk about some of the revolts that take place. African people trying to make sure that they don't remain as slaves. You
Hmm.
have many taking place, especially in Virginia. Nat Turner and so on was one of the greatest revolters around 1831, 32 there about. There was a big revolt. Nat Turner eventually was hung. He had revolts where one of the most notorious Europeans, um, John Brown, was also hung
Yes.
for supporting and wanting to free the slaves. He was also a Baptist preacher. But but we don't talk about some of these revolts, and we talk about the revolts in Jamaica. Um, we have revolts in Barbados, probably one major revolt in Barbados, and he had revolts in other parts of the Caribbean, Antigua, St. Vincent, Dominica, etc., etc. So it's a very important book, small book, but packed with information, right? Written by
Hmm.
C.L.R. James, one of our historical stalwarts
Absolutely.
in the Black world.
Okay, and you can get all three books in a bundle. Your next bundle is the African Diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
where you have the Eternal Year,
Mm-hmm.
Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, and Lessons for African People,
Mm-hmm.
which are all three books I believe that we have given away
Yes,
um,
yes, you are.
as part of our book
Yes,
giveaway that you have selected.
yes, you are. Yes. Well, those three books are very, very solid books. As I mentioned earlier about Eternally the African, is edited by Sister Dr. Asantiwa. She's
Hmm.
a DePaul local um, Chicago sister and empress and mother, teacher. She edited that book, and a lot of the contributors in that book um, came from this Chicago area, and brilliant young minds. So we were proud to have been asked to publish the book. Um,
Hmm.
then you have the other book. One of the other books you have here
The
is
Philosophies and
Lessons
Opinions of Marcus
Marcus
Garvey.
Phillips, even opinion of Marcus Garvey, which celebrates everybody who listening tonight should get a copy of this book, The Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Let me show it to you. Is this is the edition here. You seen it,
Hmm.
right?
Yes,
It celebrates
yes.
100 years since it has been published by the wife of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, Amy Jacques Garvey. We have since republished it, and that is the copy I just showed is our edition. But everyone who looks at this program or who looks at the program should tell another one about this book, Philosophies and Opinion. If it wasn't for Miss Amy Jacques Garvey, the second wife of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the world would not have known about this book. And this year, 2023, this book was first published by Amy Jacques Garvey while Marcus Garvey himself was being railroaded and was in prison. I think he might have been at that time being railroaded, and this book was put out by his wife. She went through painful task of putting together some of his speeches and some of the letters and articles he wrote in the Black Man newspaper, the Nation newspaper, etc., that he had published over the years. And these are some of the speeches that she was able to take time off to publish in this book. So we celebrate the 100th anniversary of it. and it's a very most exponent book of Marcus Garvey, teaching you the philosophies and opinions of him, and courses and what you should do as African people, as Black people, how we see the whole question of organization, the importance to organize, the importance of businesses, the importance of buy black, which is something that your organizations has been pushing, and
Right.
so philosophy and opinion very important that all African people, man, woman, and child, is a book that should be taught and studied in the school by Marcus Messiah Garvey. Philosophy and Opinion of Marcus Garvey, edited by his astute wife, Amy Jacks Garvey. Yes. The other
Okay.
book, from the what do you call it, Lessons to
The lessons
African
for
people, as
African
I mentioned
people.
before. This book,
Mhm.
this book was you have given away this book before, as
Yes.
well as the philosophy and opinions. But this book here is the last course that Garvey taught in 1937 in Nova Scotia, Halifax, Canada, and it's very important. Is that we read it. Everyone should read this book because it's very pertinent that they all should read it. People should read this book, um, as we go forward, because it is a book that we will learn a lot from in terms of the way how Garvey taught. And we have changed to the things that are wrong in the editing of this book. We no longer look at Negroes and blacks. We look Negroes, we look at African and blacks. And also when we read this book, our edition of this book, it deals with African and black rather than Negroes. Because you couldn't leave Africa as an African and then transport it to the West here, and then all of a sudden you become a Negro. We were African,
Right.
and we will remain African, no matter. Yeah.
Okay. So we lost your
Just now,
your lost your picture, but
is this coming again?
okay, here we go.
Yeah, one forward
Yeah.
this
So
time. One forward.
we're already
Yeah, yeah. You see me now?
yeah, oh yeah, I can see you now,
Okay, yeah,
Sekou. We're already at the top of the hour.
yeah.
I'll just mention the other four bundles. There's Rasta Living,
Mm-hmm.
the Great Law Bundle, Awaken the World Within Bundle,
Yeah,
Ancient Secrets
yes,
Bundle,
yes,
and the Kingdom of Heaven.
yes,
I'll have several books that you can purchase, which would definitely enlighten your knowledge and your historical views and
yes,
perspectives
yes,
on our condition as a people. So,
yes,
so we're gonna wrap it up here. I would
yes,
like for you to give some closing remarks, Sekou,
yes,
um, in regards to Frontline.
yes. Well, Frontline continues to function, to exist. We will be looking in the future to come at soon enough a physical brick and mortar. Um, Hopefully, we're going to open up the store in Evanston here in the next month or so. And once we get certain things organized, but in the meanwhile, we trying to work online, and also we continue to publish books and level. We're looking in terms of how we're going to organize to strengthen in different forms and different ways. The whole idea of we have a book club. We want to rejuvenate it in the next month or so. And this is some of the things that Frontline is preparing to do, to work in our communities. We want to come back south, probably initially come back in the neighborhood, and then later on probably return
Mhm.
to Hyde Park, etc. But so we have plans afoot. We have things we're doing. We're putting out T-shirts. So we have T-shirts and so on that we're putting out. We have one for Juneteenth. What they put out, it's called Juneteenth. And here's one, you can see it, Denise.
Oh, oh, that's gorgeous. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So this
That's
is, you see it? You seeing it?
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
that is absolutely
So
beautiful, and you can see that that's available
it's
online. Am
available
I
online on
correct?
the website, and it's soon be
Mm-hmm.
available on the it will also be available on what you call Instagram, etc. And soon enough it'll also be on the storefront on Amazon. So this is another T-shirt with Malcolm
Okay,
X, right?
that's very nice.
Then you see another in the front of it. So is Floyd, and yeah,
Okay.
and you see yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So these are
All right.
this is available now. You can see them on online on the website.
Okay.
So we're moving
Okay.
into in different other varieties of areas and things and so on. So we are glad
Okay.
to be here, and we say it all. We just had to continue to support one another in our communities and give strength to one another, and so on. The Black Bookstore is very, very important, but Black bookstores can't survive only by being Black bookstores. We have to also get involved with our communities by selling other things in the community, like whether it's soap, shea butter, and so on, and so African people could be involved in the merchandising of what we
Right.
and support what the community is doing. And yeah, so we are always glad to be here. Denise, you have also been a great support for us, you must say, in different ways and
Absolutely.
different means. You were one of the rallying soldiers for us, rallying to find funds. We did not find enough to save us from being where we were, but you, nonetheless, your contribution in that line has been, well received. So we're thankful for you,
Absolutely.
and you continue to support Black businesses and Black bookstores across the city
Okay.
of Chicago. And so we say frontline support and salutes um, the needs and the efforts on this platform to continue to elevate and educate our people about Black books and Black businesses, all in all. Much love, much strength in everything that you do. And people remember to read. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Frontline support all the Black bookstores, support Black publishers, and so on across North America. So the whole idea is buy Black.
Absolutely. And with that, I'll say good night.
Okay, two times.